Go and find a job, guys. YouTube isn't whatever that says. I can't see because the heart's in the way.
I'll get right on that.
We do have jobs, actually, believe it or not. We are just two guys that like to have conversations in a basement and hang out, and we just so happen to film it and put it on YouTube for people to say how much we suck, and we enjoy that. So, thank you.
I'd almost say pop on Discord and invite the guy on. I'd be interested to hear what he has to say, but
that would be a hell of a thing to do, to just have a bunch of people that like made a bunch of comments and on YouTube just pop and just go through like a rotation in a Discord call.
That would be hilarious. I would totally be all up for like pulling up comments that were just like complete, just like total smears, and just reading them and being like, "Yep, you're absolutely right."
When you dive into the stuff that we've kind of talked about as a small channel like us that are just literally two idiots in a basement that are throwing our hats into the ring of controversial topics, whether it be a streamer controversy or throwing out our opinion about a game system or games, like, people are going to say some pretty nasty things about you. But I mean, you start somewhere. I mean,
no, it's just one of those things where it's like, this is what we're doing right now. I mean, could we absolutely change it up and make it more engaging and like do the whole spiel and, you know,
do like crazy editing?
Yeah,
and
we've been there, we've done that. But
you can do that for sure, but we don't have the time to do that. So why not just sit down, have a conversation between friends, and then just
try this.
Throw our opinion out there.
If you had a job, you would recognize your own value and realize that it's worth more than sitting in front of a computer editing a free video all day.
Got him. Games that have transcended... We'll just go down the topic list here. Games that have transcended time.
Mega Man. Dude, Mega Man, like Mega Man X especially.
Yeah, Mega Man has definitely transcended time. I mean, it's very popular to this day. I mean, I feel like a lot of games that have mascots are ones that have transcended time, like Mario, Sonic being like the obvious ones, Zelda with, you know, Link, Donkey Kong with Donkey Kong, Diddy Kong.
Not even like the
Dixie
mascot
Kong.
aspect, but the branding of it. Like anything that you could target a branding around. Like, you know, even the Excite Bike franchise, that doesn't really have a mascot, but look how well it carried from NES all the way up to N64.
I don't think I ever played the N64 one, if I'm being honest.
It was awesome.
Really?
Yeah, it was good. What else is... Or like, you know, I mean...
Star Fox.
I'm not going to call Tiger Woods a mascot. He was the poster child of EA Sports golf franchise forever. Yeah. That carried forever.
Things that you can, like, attach stuff to as well. Like, movie franchises, for like Star Wars. Like, Star Wars isn't a mascot, but it is a franchise that is probably one of the biggest in the world.
Right, yeah.
So video games naturally are going to be, you know, some that... I don't know if their games have transcended time, though, because the Super Star Wars games, like for the Super Nintendo, like they're kind of hard plays now.
They're hard plays.
The new ones are good, but they're new games. They haven't transcended anything.
Right. Shadows of the Empire on N64 was a great game then. I haven't revisited it to know if it's like still there.
I feel like there's a Star Wars game that has transcended time that was from back in the day, but Pod Racer. People like Pod Racer now. They actually re-released it on like PS4 and stuff. I don't know if it was well received, but
I think the best Star Wars game I ever played was Jedi Fallen Order, the first one.
I played
PS4.
a bit of that. I don't think I ever finished it.
You bitch.
I know. I suck.
Yeah.
Spider, like...
You got to build your own lightsaber in that.
Yeah, I do know that.
And then Vader was in the end?
Mm-hmm. Well, he was in the beginning, too.
Well...
You had the fight that you had to lose to Vader.
Yeah. Well, no, that wasn't Vader. That was the...
or maybe you chased after...
That was the Death Trooper.
Didn't you chase Vader in the beginning?
No, she's in all black. And
I thought maybe I got to the point where
what the hell's
you see
the
Vader.
name of him? She's one of the seventh. What is she? The seventh sister?
I can't remember. I honestly don't know.
I don't know, but that was a great game.
Yeah, I mean, for games that have transcended time, I think Mario 3 is a very obvious one. I think all of the Marios have kind of transcended time. For the NES, Mario World has definitely transcended time. Mario 64.
Hot take. Mario 1 is boring now after like 10 minutes.
I can agree and disagree with that, but that's a whole other conversation. All of the Marios have transcended time. Mario
Kart has transcended.
Mario Kart is definitely one that has transcended time and continues to be a very massive thing for Nintendo.
Like, I can play that on SNES still and be like, oh.
Mario 64 is one that people still play to this day, and like the speedrunning community around that is, I think, a big player into that, because that speedrun is insane to watch.
Oh yeah, it's 3D speedrun.
Ocarina of Time, the first Zelda, I think also you can throw in there as well.
Mario Paint.
I don't know if that's true.
I love Mario Paint.
We know that you've mentioned it many times. That
I was accused of being simple-minded previously. You know what? You're absolutely right. I wish I was simple-minded. I try to be. It's a much simpler world when you're simple-minded.
Donkey Kong Country 1, 2, and 3, they are still heavy hitters to this day.
F-Zero?
F-Zero, still well loved.
But only the Super Nintendo version.
I think the GameCube version people liked as well.
I didn't like GameCube.
Let's see. What else here? The Castlevania franchise has transcended time. 1, 2, and 3 for the NES, Symphony of the Night, the Game Boy Advance games. I think they have really, especially Symphony of the Night.
I just saw a game you put on that list, and I swear, if one more person fucking says Metroid, I'm gonna lose my shit.
What is wrong with Metroid?
It's not that good. Zombies Ate My Neighbors transcended time.
You have weird attachments to weird games, and you also have weird hate for games as well.
I hate Metroid.
The Ninja Turtle games, I think, have also transcended time. Turtles in Time especially.
That's really the one.
But even like the original arcade Ninja Turtles was one.
If you had to pick one Need for Speed game that can exist on Earth.
Underground 2.
Not Most Wanted?
Mm-mm. Underground 2. Definitely Underground 2.
Yeah, probably Underground 2.
The Pokemon games for the Game Boy.
Did not try. Oh, yeah, well, yeah, on the Game Boy they transcended time. Any of the other ones were kind of like...
Well, I mean, the ones on the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color, the Game Boy Advance as well, Ruby and Sapphire, they have definitely transcended time. What came after Ruby and Sapphire? That was when like Black and White and Platinum and stuff came out, which people still love those games because, I mean, it's still a Pokemon game. But when you're talking about like the original Pokemon, like that is truly transcended through time.
Pokemon Blue, baby.
Yeah. What else?
Blue.
Crash Bandicoot, Spyro the Dragon. The classic platformers really have pushed through into the mainstream.
I want to revisit that for a second. You have Blue, Red, Yellow.
Yeah.
And based on which one you got, that determined what you started with, correct?
No. Well, Yellow, yes, because you started with Pikachu. Blue and Red, you had the same choice of starters. You had Bulbasaur, Charmander, or Squirtle.
Right.
And then it changed after that because when you had Gold, Silver, and Crystal, you got the same choices of starters. Yeah, you got the same choice of starters. The cool thing about they did a soft reboot of those for the Switch called Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. You get Pikachu or you get Eevee, but you can catch the starters like so you can catch Charmander or Charizards and stuff out in the wild. I actually really enjoyed those games on the Switch, but that's not the point of this discussion.
How cool would it have been if they had done a green as well, and then whichever one you got, like if you got blue, you got a Squirtle, if you got red, you got a Charmander, if you got green, you got a Bulbasaur.
That would have been pretty cool. Like, if you just bought, like, you get to pick the starter based on the game that you bought. That would have been pretty sweet.
Hard-coded. That would have added to collectability, I think. Especially if you, like, limited one of them without telling people.
Probably, yeah. They probably would have had to make more copies.
I mean, I imagine yellow's worth more than blue or red.
I believe so.
That makes sense.
I think all of, like, the third editions are the more valuable ones, because Crystal is definitely more than Gold and Silver. Emerald is definitely more than Ruby and Sapphire. And I don't know the ones after that. But, yeah, that is very true. Because I think the third ones came out after the initial two. I don't think they came out all three at the same time. Resident Evil and Silent Hill, they've transcended time. Maybe not as individual games. Some individual games have, but as franchises, I think Resident Evil more than Silent Hill, because Konami has put out some real stinkers on the Silent Hill games. Ratchet and Clank, maybe not so much Jak and Daxter, because they haven't really...
Spyro the Dragon!
I did say Spyro the Dragon.
What else did I have? Siphon Filter did not transcend that.
No. Metal Gear Solid.
Not really. The new ones are okay, but like you go back and play the old ones and it's like, what the hell is this?
I went back and played the first one not long ago, and I enjoyed it.
You're also special.
Thank you. Tony Hawk.
Oh, yes.
Tony Hawk games have transcended time, for sure. Not only the games, but the soundtracks.
Oh, well, the soundtracks were what we grew up with. I mean, like Goldfinger Superman. I mean,
the Final Fantasy games, the classic 16-bit Final Fantasy games, the PS1 Final Fantasy games, they have definitely transcended time. Classic RPGs and stuff like Chrono Trigger has transcended time. What are you doing? What are you doing?
Really bad.
Oh boy, I'm left to my own devices down here. Guess I'll just look at what else transcended time. Tetris, Punch-Out probably, Mario sports games, Double Dragon, Halo, RuneScape. I think we've pretty much covered like most of the games that I can think of that have like transcended time. I know there's probably a bunch that,
What about the Home Alone games? They were a bitch.
Dude, there's a game that people were speedrunning off of Steam. I forget what it's called, but it's basically you play as Kevin McAllister and you have to escape from the wet bandits. What is it? What are the Marv and what's the other one's name? Harry. That's it.
Harry and Marv.
You have to escape from them. It's like really janky and really bad.
Wow, what a hole!
I fucking love that.
All
right, Andy. We are gonna jump into this next topic here.
Been nice knowing y'all.
Is the Super Nintendo one of the greatest consoles of all time?
Yes.
I believe also.
Yeah.
I think the Super Nintendo, that jump from 8-bit to 16-bit was massive. And if you look at it from a newer generation standpoint, it's a much easier transition to go play. Like if you're looking at the game, like watching somebody play it or watching YouTube footage or a streamer play it, it's much easier to look at that and be like, wow, that looks good. Like, that looks good.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, processing power increased. It went from 8-bit to 16-bit, as you said. From a development perspective, I think it's kind of stayed in the same court with development because I believe NES was on assembler, and I think that we hadn't quite gotten to C yet with SNES. So you had all of that experience that they gained, developers would gain with the NES that they could then leverage for the SNES. Not that, language is that big of a deal, but the graphics were tremendous.
Yeah, graphically, the jump from the 8-bit to 16-bit, was, it's stunning. Like, some of the games that are on the Super Nintendo that are just, I think a lot of it has to do with the way that the colors are displayed. Like, they're bright, they're vibrant.
Well, yeah, it has a wider color palette.
Yeah, it is, they've, the backgrounds that they have on it, they just nailed it with that console.
But other things that I think about, it was top loading, which made it more convenient. You didn't have that front flap where you had to slide it in.
The eject button.
Yep.
The controller was really nice.
I don't like how they did the reset button, how it had the slide.
Oh, yeah.
I think they could have probably retained a push button functionality for that or done it a different way.
There's been many times where I've bumped it or something, it was on the floor and I was moving my foot and I bumped it and reset and I was like, no!
Yeah. And the controllers were more ergonomic. They introduced 2 new buttons, I believe.
They were they were rounded, so they were more comfortable in your hands. They weren't jabbing you.
That's what ergonomic means.
Whatever. Oh no!
Oh shit. So, even from beyond a playability perspective, beyond a performance perspective, there were a lot of things that made it more user-friendly or human-centered than the NES was.
And you could save on your games.
What?
Right? Yeah,
No.
you could save on games.
No.
Yes.
What game can you save?
Mario World, Link to the Past.
I mean, yeah, it's
Mario RPG, Chrono Trigger.
There was you could save in that regard, but it wasn't you could save mid-level or checkpoints or anything that.
No.
But it wasn't with, NES where on Mario, you could be at World 8-2 like you were last night. And,
yeah.
I imagine you were playing it on Switch because you're a little bitch.
No,
but
I was playing it on the Retron back there.
Oh, you're playing on the Retron. So, yeah, you didn't get to save that at all.
No. I was playing it on the Switch just because I want to get better I want more repetitions with 8-2 because, dude, that... For some reason, when I get to, 8-1, I can run through no problem. 8-2 is where I just fall apart. Or if I fall apart and lose my Fire Flower in 8-1, it's just over.
You're missing the point here. If you want to play 8-2, the whole way, the way the game was built and designed, you got to earn your way back to it.
I have been on the Retron. I literally just will die and then I'll go back to 1 and it takes me 3 minutes to get back to 8-2.
You're full of shit because you use 2 warp zones to get to 8-2.
Yeah.
It's not how it was designed.
No, it's not how it's designed, but if I'm playing a game and I'm playing a game to beat it, I'm going to beat it how I think I want to beat it or think I should beat it. Could I go through and play all the levels? Sure. But they made these secrets for a reason. It's just natural for me to just go through. It would be very hard for me to run through the second level and not get up top and go through. It's so ingrained in my brain to just, shoo. Even if I ran at the lower level up to where the things will take you up to the warp zone, I would literally just do the same thing and go up rather than down. It's just hardwired in my brain to just do the warps. Same with Mario 3. It's just, I've done it so many times.
Now, here's the controversial piece of it.
Oh, boy.
I still don't think Super Nintendo stacks up for younger players.
I think it does.
I don't.
I think it does a lot more than the NES, just because of the vibrant colors in the graphics, the smoothness, and the attractability of how good some of these games are. It's hard to, if you're an RPG fan, it's hard to not enjoy 16-bit RPGs. Final Fantasy III, Chrono Trigger, Super Mario RPG is a very charming game. You've got Link, like those in Earthbound, like those RPGs are some of the greatest RPGs of all time.
For you.
For everybody.
No, you don't get to talk for everybody.
As a collaborative list of greatest RPGs of all time.
Created by adults?
Created by adults.
Okay, that's my point.
It's going to be created by adults, but it's taken from a lot of information that probably is given from some kids, some adults, you know, the collective gaming community as a whole.
I still think you put a 7-year-old in front of an SNES and only 1 in 5 of them actually maintain attention.
I think it's a little easier for kids to grab onto the Super Nintendo.
I don't. Well, hold up. Easier than what? Because easier is a quantifying statement.
I think it's easier for kids to grab onto the Super Nintendo than it would be for kids to grab onto the regular Nintendo.
And I completely agree with that. I still don't think we've passed that threshold where we can safely say, yes, this console transcends time for everybody.
It's not real. Like, we are looking at it that way, but if you're looking at it from a new gamer standpoint of people that have started on the PS4, started on the PS5, and you take them, set them in a room, and you're just like, all right, play this. But you give them a little bit of everything. You give them a little bit of platformers where it's, you know, Mario World 1 and 2. You give them the Mario All-Stars, which is the redos of Mario 1, 2, and 3 with updated graphics. You put some fighting games in there, Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. You give them the RPGs like Chrono Trigger, Earthbound. You give them Link to the Past. You give them Super Mario Kart, F-Zero. You give them Donkey Kong Country. And you just say, try and find one that you will enjoy. It's much, like Turtles in Time even, like, it's much easier for somebody to, like a kid to just pick up a Super Nintendo game, put it in, sight unseen, if they're just like, ooh, Mario, let's check this out. Most likely it's going to be good. Oh, Ninja Turtles, let's check this out. Going to be good. Donkey Kong. Like, you know, as a whole, you're much more likely to go out into the wild, grab a Super Nintendo game, and come home and have it be worth playing more than the regular Nintendo.
Objectively speaking, I agree.
Yeah, so it's easier for a kid that enjoys games, that wants to look back to the past, or, you know, his dad talks about the Super Nintendo, or even, you know, whatever, has seen Super Nintendo, played some Super Nintendo with his dad or uncle or whoever, grandparents, and they are at a yard sale and they're like, oh, look, here's the Super Nintendo and a handful of games. You want to pick that up, you know, for $50, whatever? And the kid's like, yeah, absolutely. I like Super Nintendo, because they've played it at so-and-so's house. Now he has his own. That selection of games that comes with it is going to be games that are going to be worth playing and are going to probably capture him in some way, shape, or form.
I got to stop you right there and caveat this. Anybody that's watching that has a child knows that if you go to a yard sale and say, do you want this? The answer is yes, regardless of what it is. It could be a rock. It's true.
I don't know about that.
I guarantee you have a child, you say yard sale, they're like, let's go. You go and you're like, do you want something? The answer is always yes.
Lydia said no to things at yard sales.
Like what?
Toys.
We need to have a talk. Most kids, I'm fairly confident, will be like, yeah, I want something, just to get something, just because that's a satisfaction thing. It's an approval thing.
Well, yeah, of course, but
you're very lucky. You're very lucky. You hear me? You need to get that New York pizza with the square cut next time. But yeah, so if you quantify your measurement of the Super Nintendo against the Nintendo, duh. Like, I mean,
But
they released it how many years later, and it's got how many more better things? If it didn't do that, I would be concerned. And you're right. It is easier. It is better for kids than the NES. But in the grand scheme of all things holy in the land of video games, I think there are still better options for getting those kids into the retro scene.
I think that there are better options, for sure.
Like,
Definitely.
I mean, shit, buy them a Retron, man. Then they can play all three, and you just spent the money for one.
Yeah,
but
you've got options in terms of like what things you can buy for them to actually play the games on if you want to play actual hardware. Yeah, you have the Retrons, you have other weird things. You have like the little handheld one, like Super Nintendos. You can get the Super Boys. You can get those. You have options. But
handhelds are not a thing.
the Super Boys actually.
We do not do handhelds for children who do not have nostalgia for them.
Shut up. Shut
We
up.
just don't.
You shut up. I think that if you're measuring it for as far back as you can go that will keep an average kid's attention, I think the Super Nintendo is about where you can go.
I think it's N64.
I definitely don't think it's N64. But that's a topic for another time.
No, I think it's N64. You just throw you throw Mario 64 in it. Dude, you throw Mario 64 in it. Tell me there's a kid out there that won't have fun with that.
Ooh, I don't know.
Mario 64 on N64 is better than any Super Nintendo experience for a child.
That's definitely false.
For a
That
child?
is a hard false.
No, you're right. Mario Paint.
I have legitimately had that experience. So
Is that a PS3?
yeah,
It's not going to be in about 5 minutes.
where Lydia wanted to come down and play games, and she wanted to play a Mario game that had Princess Peach. The thing that I thought about that gives you instant Princess Peach was Mario 64, because you see the glass in the princess's castle that shows Princess Peach. So I was like, Mario 64, throw it on. So I gave that to her, and she, ran around, but she was just like, meh. Like, I don't really, it was fun for maybe 30 seconds, and then she was ready to move on. But we sat down, and we played Turtles in Time together. And I had to actually tell her, all right, we got to stop, dinner's done.
Stop right there. The big difference that you just said there is she played Mario 64 and we played Turtles in Time together.
Yes.
There's your difference. That is.
But she's also played it by herself on the arcade back there.
Well, an arcade's a completely different.
I've been down getting a episode or segment ready for the podcast, and she hops on the arcade and she.
That has pageantry. That is a totally different
You
experience.
just love to find any excuse
to
not admit your wrongs.
I admit when I'm wrong, by all means, but I don't think I am here because that is going to engage a child way more than anything else will, simply because it's its own freestanding cabinet in her basement. It's thrilling. Look, it's got the joysticks, it's got the smashing buttons on the top.
She has loved that thing since she was 2.
You mean since I carried its ass in here with you?
Did you help me carry it in?
I did.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I did. So tell me I don't know when I'm wrong again.
It's not even that heavy.
We carried it up your stairs into your old game room.
It's not that heavy.
And I was like, oh, this is nice. And you were like, yeah, this is my little corner. Tell me I don't like when I'm wrong. I'm just saying that the gravitating force there was that she was doing it with you.
Well, yeah, that's obviously going to have more power, but I think if you're going to play games together, that the Super Nintendo has way more of that, because you can play way more co-op games together than you can with the regular Nintendo, and they're better co-op games that are going to be more engaging for a kid than the N64.
That's a whole different argument. Yes, absolutely. I agree with that. you're also never going to play Super Mario 64 together because it's a one-player game.
Yes.
Damn it.
I know.
Fuck.
But you, like, with Mario 64...
Taking this.
No, you're not.
It's this. Taking this. I already have this.
Do you really?
Yes.
You do not strike me as a person that would own Pokemon Stadium 2.
I even have the little adapter.
Oh, you do have that. That's right, because you showed me it and it has
with
Pokemon Blue.
blue in it. That's right.
I'm going to steal that.
How much you want for it? How much you want it for?
I told you I would buy it from you.
I'll give you all right, $300.
Definitely not that much.
$150. I keep the N64 game.
Definitely not that much either.
$100. I keep the N64 game and blue. You can have the adapter.
You drive a hard bargain, but it's still a no. Now you just made me lose my train of thought.
Like how I did that?
That's fine. That game's not the greatest on N64.
I didn't know they made it on.
Yeah, they have. There was a couple games that came out on PlayStation that also came out on N64. Resident Evil 2 is also one of them. Medical Blitz, maybe. I think the Super Nintendo is like the perfect console to like throw to your kid, and I think that they could have a blast on it. It could even be the console that they fall in love with video games on.
They're not terribly easy to find, so I wouldn't
Super
advise.
Nintendos?
So I wouldn't advise throwing it.
Well, they're easy to find.
I mean, they're around, but I wouldn't say they're
I guarantee
easy to
if
find.
I contacted every person in a 50-mile radius to be like, hey, meet me at this place and bring your Super Nintendos, we'd have a lot of Super Nintendos.
There's a lot of people in a 50-mile radius.
Yes, but that doesn't...
My point is, like, the ones that I've seen out there are, like, people are trying to get a lot of money for them, and they're not worth a lot of money.
Dude, that's anything. That is absolutely... Don't even get me started on that tangent. Any video game that people have, they're just like, I have gold, it's worth a fortune. And you look at the games they have, and it's like the absolute most... it's like Madden 2007. And they're like, $50, I know what I have. It's like, well, clearly you don't.
Either way, don't throw your Super Nintendo. They're not making them anymore.
Well, yeah, don't throw your Super Nintendo. But
don't throw your Super Nintendo. Well, only throw your Super Nintendo if you get frustrated with the game.
Maybe. No, don't do that.
Throw it at him.
But
like
yes,
I'm about to.
I think the Super Nintendo is definitely one of the greatest consoles of all time, hands down.
Hey, I got a question.
I think the franchises...
I got a question.
What?
How do these PlayStation 3s respond to water?
Probably not very well, as it is electronic.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah, Super Nintendo, one of the greatest consoles of all time. The franchises that it has, the ones that started or the ones that carried and really got their mainstream start from there is just bar none. It is definitely just one of the greatest. You have Chrono Trigger, Link to the Past, Super Mario World 1 and 2, Mario RPG, Super Metroid, Super Mario Kart, Mario All-Stars, Earthbound, Star Fox, F-Zero, Donkey Kong Country 1, 2, and 3, Street Fighter 2, Mortal Kombat. You've got Final Fantasy 3, you've got Super Star Wars, you've got Mario Paint, you've got...
I told you not to say it anymore.
The list goes on.
I told you not to say it.
It's a great console. Your kids will enjoy it.
Yes, it is, but Metroid is not. I do not want to hear that word ever again.
Metroid. Why do you hate Metroid so much?
No, I'm not getting into that here.
I need to know.
Well, you can find out later.
The people need to know.
The people don't need to know. You can find out later. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
We will ask the questions.
Yeah, I love the Super Nintendo, and I think it definitely is just top tier.
I think I'm gonna go find a job.
Yeah, I guess I should find a job. All right, for the first bit of controversy that we've got going on.
Oh, God.
We've got...
Bye, everybody.
We've got Moist Critical and the Sneeko debate, or, Penguins Zero or Charlie, whatever you want to call him. They had a debate.
Charlie!
They had a debate.
Isn't he a unicorn?
They have been, at each other's throats for quite a while on, social media, just bashing each other, they're not very friendly. Somehow they had a debate. I don't know how, but I watch Moist Critical, Charlie, whatever. I watch a good bit of his content because I listen to YouTube on the daily. So he's just one of those guys that posts stuff like Asmongold. You cover topics in the space. You cover game controversies. You cover things in the gaming world. Just overall different things that they cover. I enjoy listening to his topics. So they got into a debate, and Sneeko, I don't know really anything about Sneeko. I just know he's a massive YouTuber in the space, and he's been quite a bit of controversy at multiple times in his career. So their debate, Sneeko was arguing about the age of consent. That was his big argument to Charlie that he was trying to push, which is the most ridiculous thing that I've ever heard. Is people trying to, either change the age of consent or argue why it should be lower. His argument was that it should be at the time that you are mature, which is the most asinine thing that I've ever heard.
Well, I mean, he's right. It should be at the time you're mature. Define mature. I don't consider most people to be mature the second they get their first erection.
Yeah.
Or the second that they have their first period. Yeah, I'm going there. Let's talk about what mature really means, because I know people that probably aren't fucking mature at 23.
I mean, there's definitely...
Myself included. I was not mature at 23.
That's an issue, because what do you define mature as? Do you define mature at the time that you hit puberty? Because that's definitely not when you're mature.
Right. So, I mean, that's when, your body is capable of doing these things.
But I think it's for the Sneeko debate, he wasn't making it a sexual thing. He was making it they can marry, which is also the most ridiculous thing regardless.
Okay, so let's go old school. What back in the day, what was consummation of a marriage?
I mean,
so you're trying to not make it that, but you're very much making it that.
100%.
Consent is everything. We know what consent is.
If you're trying to argue the age of consent, there are ulterior motives there, and it's disgusting.
Well, yeah, but so 18 is the age that you are allowed to sign financially binding contracts. 21 is the age that you are allowed to own handguns. You are allowed to drink alcohol. 18 is the age that you are allowed to, in some states, own firearms. I think you can own firearms at earlier ages.
You can buy rifles at 18. You have to be 21 to buy handguns.
Right. Well, aren't there certain states where you can own rifles at 16?
It's very possible, but I'm not sure on that.
So here's the point here. 18 and 21 are very, very commonly used ages in the realm of law for, public safety, as well as, consumption of chemicals. They won't prescribe certain drugs to kids under 18.
Yeah.
You can't buy cigarettes or vapes. I think vapes and cigarettes are actually up to 21 now.
They're 21 now, yeah.
So why are we trying to lower the age of consent here to your maturity age when,
yeah.
Oh, hi, I'm 13. I can get an erection, so I should be allowed to fuck, but I can't buy a car.
Yeah. It's the most ridiculous argument that you can have. It's trying to justify things, and it's just disgusting. There's no other way to put it. It's disgusting. Because even at 18, you're still not mature. But at 18, you are ready to kind of be introduced to the world. You graduate high school, you're going out into the real world. Some people, by the time they reach 18, they are very mature and they are ready to take on anything in the world that a grown adult that is 30 is taking. Like,
well, and here's the other thing. The reality of it is the situation currently in the legal ecosystem in America, the age of consent is dependent upon each individual. For instance, in Maryland, at least when I was a kid, if I was 14 and she was 14, there was no statutory, rape going on there. That was consensual.
Well, you can't say that word on YouTube. So.
Oh, sorry, but that's what they call it. Similarly, and there was a window of if you were 14, you could go up. I think it was 2 or 3 years, and that wasn't a concern. So 14 with 16 was okay.
It's when you get to 18 is when the issues start to happen, if I'm remembering correctly.
Right, and the thing there is so if you're 16 and you have a 3-year window and somebody's 18, they fall within that window.
Okay.
No crime, no punishment, no foul, no harm.
It's when you're a 30-year-old talking to a 16-year-old.
And you're not in that 3-year window. Right.
It's gross.
You're not in that window at that point.
You're far removed from that window. The window you can't even see with binoculars there, Chief.
So, our lawmakers are acknowledging that kids that age are going to do that.
Yeah.
Or at least should be afforded protection if they do that. I don't see any reason to just arbitrarily lower the age and say, okay, 14's the age of consent. Anybody over 14's, open season. That's disgusting. That's those are developing people.
Yeah.
You are going to do emotion. And let's remember, so consent is one thing, right? Well, there's an aspect to all of this that's emotional and really, really damaging in the wrong situations.
If I would argue, some of the most important years of, growing up are that, that 12 to, 16 to 17 range where, if traumatic things happen to you in that window, it changes the course of your life indefinitely.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and I mean, dude, I don't care how old you are. There's an emotional aspect to that.
Well, if you're talking about that, then yeah, of course. Yes.
That's the biggest thing that comes into question with the age of consent.
Yes. I mean, that's naturally what all these people are trying to argue is because they're trying to justify that they're not creeps, and they are. Anyway. So, off the topic of what his argument was, Charlie was disagreeing with what he said in the terms of the consent age. So, he tricked Charlie by asking Charlie what he thought about kids changing their gender. And Charlie said, well, if the parents and the kids are both consenting, I don't see a problem with it. That is absolutely a problem. And, Sneeko was, super thrilled about catching him in that because he was like, so you agree that a kid can go get his chopped off, but you don't agree that, that they can consent to marry or whatever his argument was in that scheme of things. And Charlie, basically was just yeah, I am saying that. That's an issue.
I think, well, first off, be careful how you portray that surgery. But, just to caveat everything, if you are of age, i.e., say you're 26, you've been through life, you were born biologically a male, and through your experiences, you truly feel that you don't really align with what a male is, or it doesn't feel right, or it's not what you want. If you are at that age of majority of 26 and you have truly matured through enough to fully understand the ramifications of the decision you're making, and you want to go through a switch, go through whatever, That's entirely, like, that's on you, you know? You do you. You live your life. You live your best life and make yourself happy. I think that's important.
100%.
But 13-year-old, an 11-year-old, a 16-year-old even, again, we're back to this whole developmental milestone thing where it's like, how can we safely sit here and say, okay, you aren't responsible enough to drive to own a gun, to drive a car until you're 16, to drink alcohol, to smoke nicotine until you're 21. How can we say that you aren't developmentally capable of making those decisions yet, but you can make a decision that literally changes and redefines who you are for the rest of your life?
So here's the standpoint that I take in that is, if a kid from, say the age of 5 or 6 or even earlier for that matter, say that they take interest in one or the other opposite ends of the spectrum. It is a game channel, but we do get into some topics because we like to keep it about stuff that we're parents as well. So, like, we do have strong feelings about things that involve children and whatnot. And these are members of, like, the gaming community. So I feel like as a parent, as a person in the gaming community, or at least I like to think I'm watching a lot of things in the gaming community as a whole. It was one of those things that I kind of battled whether we should talk about it or not, but I think we collectively decided that we did want to kind of cover this thing because it does involve two influential members of this community and their hot takes on this or that. And as a parent, I just feel like throwing my opinion into it is kind of important, at least to me.
I'm just here to get made fun of for cheeseburgers and receive death threats.
So, whether you have a daughter, whether you have a son, if they both show interest in the opposite gender, one plays with Barbies, one likes to dress up in dresses, whatever, that's fine. There's no harm, no foul to that. It's when you start to introduce the things that change their biology is when that becomes a problem. So, and it starts with the parents. I think a big issue... Joe. Oh, Joe will never let me live that down, Willie. Moist Critical said NES is better than the SNES. I heard too.
I mean, well, damn, that's a hot take. Whew.
So, like, at these young ages, it's the parents that feel like they have to push it or have to, like, define it, like draw a hard line, and they start feeding them, like these hormone blockers and stuff. That's a problem. That's a big, big problem. Because at that age, you cannot speak to whether it's something that you want to do or don't want to do. You can't make a educated decision on that because that's going to change the future of your entire life.
So I'm gonna get us canceled.
Be careful.
In the concept of mental health, I've often heard a phrase used with people who consider calling it, and it's referred to as being a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to portray this as...
So, to respond to that that there's a big difference in choosing to change your sex and being born with the wrong external organs. When we're talking about these kinds of subjects and stuff, like, I try not to jump to the one extreme or the other extreme, where there was inappropriate and bad things done to that child to make him a male because the parents didn't believe in such. So when we talk about, like, this kind of stuff, I don't like to jump to one extreme and the other extreme. I like to try and keep it in the confines of like an average, you know, of a parent that sees their son playing with Barbies, dressing up like a girl, etc., or watches their daughter who plays with G.I. Joes and likes to play football. You know what I mean? Like, you have a woman that, or a little girl that is involved in male activities, or you see a male that is involved in female activities. So when it comes down to like from a parent's perspective, I'm still in the early stages of seeing my child change and these phases that we go through. You know, she's in a phase where everything's Frozen. She loves Frozen. It's singing Frozen songs. It's watching Frozen 1,000 times. It's, you know, all the dolls that she plays with. And then 3 months later, it's all about Inside Out. And like, she just plays like she's the emotions. She likes to play as embarrassment or disgust or whatever. Like, and Frozen is just a thing of the past. Like, when you are at these very, very young ages and you can think, but you're not making educated decisions, a parent should not decide whether or not to change your biology, because that is 100% child abuse. No question about it. It is just child abuse.
I don't know if I'd reach that far.
I 100% would reach that far. It's a thing with, as a parent, you know, if my daughter she likes to go out and hit golf balls with me in the yard, like that, I'm not just like, oh, maybe she's a boy. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that. It's, oh, she likes to hit golf balls. Like, will she continue to enjoy hitting golf balls? Or what if she plays baseball? Or holy moly. Is that a work call? Oh God. So when it comes down to being a parent and seeing these things unfold, you have to let it play out. You don't just immediately jump to like, oh, I need to make sure that they feel a certain way, because they don't know how they feel. They're young, they're impressionable. So, well, no, it's not about the activities they do. It's just the easiest way that I can portray, you know, what I'm talking about. Especially at these young ages, where parents think that just because they're doing these things that they identify as one or the other. It's about just letting it play out as a young child. But when you get into these years where you're running, like they're running through puberty and their body is starting to change and they're experiencing all these new emotions and new feelings, and surprisingly enough, like, if you've ever watched the Inside Out movies, like, it does a very good job at like explaining what a kid going through puberty feels. You have like all of these thoughts and emotions and feelings, and you don't know how to compartmentalize all of them, and you're just in this constant state of like, what am I doing? What do I do? What does this mean? Like, you know, a kid is still figuring it all out, which is fine. That's part of life. And to be a parent is to help your kid through those moments, because we've gone through them ourselves. That's our job as parents, to show our kids how to get through these hard times, how to navigate these emotions, how to navigate all of these new experiences that they're experiencing. So if you have a child that is now, you know, they're doing the same thing. Like, they are feeling a certain way, you know, leaning towards a certain gender, whether it's a boy leaning towards, you know, being a girl, wearing girls' clothes, whatever. There's no problems with that. Yeah, Andy had to take a work call, so he'll be right back. So I'm just going to navigate this by myself, I guess. So, you know, like, if you're if your son is 13 or 14 and likes to wear girls' clothes or paint his nails or grow his hair out or whatever, like, there's no harm in that. There's really no harm in that. Who cares? Will he be, like, he's probably going to get made fun of at school, which is unfortunate. But that's something that, as a parent, you have to help him through. And as, you know, if there's a girl that's doing the same thing, she likes to wear boy clothes, she likes to dress more masculine, she doesn't like to paint her nails, she doesn't like to do the things that other girls do. All of her friends are boys. She likes to go roughhouse and play football, do all the things. Like, that's completely fine too. Like, you don't have to draw these hard lines of, like, that means he wants to be a girl or that means she wants to be a guy. Like, stop drawing these hard lines and making these decisions for them. Let them experiment. Let them play it out. Let them figure it out themselves. There's no harm in letting them just figure it out. If they want to experiment and, you know, as long as it's not harming anybody, let them go. Let them figure it out. It's a very important, very big moment in their lives where they're figuring out who they are and figuring out what they like, figuring out who their friends are, figuring out how to navigate this life that we're living here. Like, it doesn't have to mean anything. It can just be who they are in that moment, which is very important. Let them be who they are in that moment. Don't, you know, point fingers. Don't push them towards something. Let them be who they are. There's no harm in that. And it doesn't mean you have to feed them medication to change their biology and, you know, go to these extremes. Let them just be who they are. When it continues and they are reaching the point where they're 18 and they're, you know, ready to go to college, they've got their, you know, their plan that they want to go. Can I ask what event brought the sex change topic? So if you weren't here, Melissa, it's in terms of, like, the moist critical Sneeko debate. It's two very big YouTubers in the space had a debate, and Sneeko was arguing the age of consent, and he talked to Charlie about if he was okay with kids changing their gender, and Charlie said yes. And now Charlie's getting some feedback, some backlash about his viewpoint on it, about saying that it's as long as the parents and the kids consent to it, then it's okay. So we attacked the whole Sneeko side of, like, the age of consent, and now we're at the point of talking about the gender changing with the topic that they were talking about with Charlie that he kind of got caught into. So when, like, back to what I was saying, like, when you reach the age of 18, you can make decisions for yourself. If you want to start on, you know, these hormone blockers or medications that will help you make these bigger transitions toward what will make you comfortable, then that is your decision to make. And that I don't have a say in you doing that. Do I think it's okay? I'd say I'm probably 50-50, because I know that there are extremes where, you know, this is what will make them comfortable in their own skin, and I 100% can relate with that. But I still think 18, you're still kind of in this weird transitional period of, you know, maybe you're not the most mature, but maybe you are. So, like, it's really a hard thing to navigate at that age where, you know, but legally they can make their own decisions, and if they want to do what makes them more comfortable and will help them be who they want to be, who am I to say what you can and can't do? That is 100% your choice, and what I have to say about it means absolutely nothing. I can support if that's what makes you happy. By all means, go for it. But that's not the point of their discussion. Their discussion was about children and doing like these, whether it be a soft reassignment or a hard reassignment, which it gets kind of hairy, but regardless, every child and every situation is different, definitely. But when they are young children, you can't be making these super hard decisions and changing their entire life if that's not what, like, it's just not smart to make a decision, because if you make these decisions for your child and start feeding them these medications to them, it can make them fertile. And if they grow up to one, like my daughter says it all the time, like if you ask her what she wants to be when she gets older, the first thing she says without hesitation, I want to be a mother. That's very important. You know, she's 4, and that hasn't changed. That's been her answer for like a year. If you ask her what she wants to be when she grows up, she wants to be a mother. There's no career path. It's just, I want to be a mom. And, you know, that will probably go away. It'll be a phase that she gets out of eventually. But when you make these decisions that will, you know, if I were to be one of these, you know, crazy parents that just is like, oh my God, she's showing signs like I think she's a boy, and just started doing all these crazy things, like, and changed her life to the point where she was fertile, and she comes back to that and she's like, I really want to have kids, and then she goes to a doctor and they say, oh, by the way, you can't have children because you were on these medications. That would be devastating to her. So you have to just let kids be kids. Let them figure it out themselves. Let them be who they want to be. Don't try to influence them one way or the other. Like, if you know, obviously there's extremes of like they're crazy or they're lunatics or whatever, like then probably influence them a different way, or, you know, things that are wrong, no doubt about it. But when it comes down to a parent's influence, your job is not to influence. Your job is to help navigate them, to help show them how to be good human beings. That's what our job is as parents. Just be good human beings. Raise empathetic kids. Raise, you know, there is not a blanket answer for the situation, to be honest. There are too many different cases, like the parents changing them as a child because they want to be a boy. That's an extreme. Yeah, that is an extreme, but it is also like in the world where people need to define things, you know, you have to define one or the other. You can't just be this person in the middle. Like, there are people that need to be hard here or hard here, and they can't exist in the middle. They have one or the other. Like, there's definitely cases where it's a health risk. You know, you have to give a girl or a boy these medications to prevent certain health risks that they may have. Like, then you're getting into like there's many different ways that you can think about these kinds of things, from the extreme left part to the extreme right part to the extreme center part, to the, you know, rare cases where it's, you know, health risks or things. At our hospital are probably bad. My family down here, they have to go through a lot of mental evaluation before they can even be considered, and they won't do it until they are. Yeah, like the extreme, like, reassignments, yeah, you can't get those until you are a certain age, which is 100% the way it should be. And especially with, like, giving medications and stuff, yeah, 100% it should be at the age that I was saying, where they can make their own decisions at 18 with a bunch of legal stuff. That should be the age where they can then make the decision to take it that step further, whether it's medications or surgeries or what have you. Like, I think a surgery is probably a little extreme. I think you might, you know, but there are the extremes of, like, the surgery and stuff will make them feel comfortable, and who are we to tell them what they can and can't do? You know, if that's what makes them feel comfortable, I don't have a say in the matter. That's your decision. then go do it. You are at the age where you can make that decision. That is perfectly fine. I understand the difficulty in making that decision at 18, where it could be a thing that you regret, and that's a tough pill to swallow for some people, is like the fact that you could they could eventually regret it if they do it at 18 or if they do it at 20 or 21. Like, there's no real age that you can say that it's actually really are. Who are we to tell them who they are once they are mature mentally? Yeah, I mean, who are we to tell them who they are at any point, really? You could make that argument, Like I said, when they're young and they're kids, like, let them be kids. Let them experiment. As long as they're not hurting anybody, let them figure themselves out. It is the only thing that we as parents can do is to try and keep our kids happy, give them a great life, give them a good childhood, protect them as much as we can in terms of, the scariness of the world and the people that are out there. How do you stand on the... I can't get I can't get into that subject there. That's even hotter water than this, I think. Yeah, like, to wind this conversation down about this and to move on to the next topic, when your kids are kids, let them be kids. Let them experiment. Let them do what makes them happy. If they want to play with if they're a girl and they want to play with G.I. Joes and play tackle football with the neighborhood kids or eat dirt, let them do it. If they're a boy and they want to paint their nails and they tried to, curl their hair with a perm, just let them do it. I mean, they're not hurting anybody. They're just playing around, figuring out who they are. Let them figure out who they are. Let them eat dirt. Let them wear nail polish. Let them, dress up as a boy. Let them dress up as a girl. Whatever makes them happy. I mean, let them be kids. Let them figure it out on their own, and I guarantee that they will turn out just fine. And that pretty much winds down that side of the conversation there. So the next little bit of the conversation here, as I try and go on my own here, which is a scary thing to me here, but we're going to talk about the Mr. Beast controversy. If you live on this planet and you haven't heard of Mr. Beast, that's pretty wild. So with Mr. Beast, if you don't know for some reason who Mr. Beast is, I'm thankful my 5 kids are grown with kids of their own. That's fantastic. Teenage boys getting perms is the in thing right now. Yes, Melissa. I'm glad that your 5 kids are grown and they have kids of their own. It's really a great thing, becoming a parent and watching your kids become their own little people. It's pretty cool. That's one of my favorite things to watch is, when my daughter gets into like golf and she wants to hit Mr. B wants to hit golf balls in the backyard with me, or she wants to play video games down in the basement. Like, that's some of my favorite things, and it's the little things like that that really just reassure you, like, all right, I'm not doing a bad job as a parent. Like, that's one of the things that you think of all the time is, like, am I doing a good job? Like, do they am I leading them astray, or am I doing everything that I can? Like, am I coming up short? It's always a thought. But when you watch them become their own little people and just enjoy life, like, that means a lot. So with the Mr. Beast controversy, if you don't know who Mr. Beast is, sorry, I keep getting pulled into the chat here. This is the first time we've had like a chat like this, so I'm enjoying reading it and stuff. So he's a big YouTuber. He's known for like his crazy giveaways, his crazy lotteries. He's done a lot of good from what I've seen personally, so I came here because I bought a PS5 and wanted to know if Red Dead Redemption is worth it. Red Dead Redemption is 100% worth it if that's your type of game. If you like big, massive open world time sinks, that's 100%. That's 100% worth it, in my opinion. You'll get a lot of time out of it. You'll get a lot of gameplay out of it. And also, do you all play League of Legends? I don't play League of Legends. His chocolate sucks. Also, do you play League of Legends? No, I don't play League of Legends personally. I know it's a very popular game, and it is played by a ton of people. So, subbed. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's a well-loved game in the big gaming communities, so I think if you wanted to play League of Legends, it's a good game to start with. If, again, that's a game that's probably going to consume a lot of time and stuff, it'll be probably one of the only games that you play, so it just depends on what you gravitate towards. League is all I play. Just bought the console. Yeah, I mean, if you get the PlayStation subscription with all of the plus games and stuff, like, there's endless amounts of great games that you can play for the price, depending on how much you play. So depending on what you like, or who's playing the console, whether you have your kids, like, I guess your kids have kids, so they're not at home playing the console, but you can have your grandkids come over, and there's tons of games on there for kids. There's tons of games that you can just hop on and play. Are they still making Doc's game, or is it canceled? They cut ties with Doc on his game, but they're still planning on releasing it from what I saw. So I think that they're going to try and release it. I think it's a mistake. I think they shouldn't release it, just because it's a first-person shooter, and it's in today's age, you have to really have a solid first-person shooter for it to be worthy of anything, and it's so much competition. Sorry, I didn't mean to derail your point again. No, it's fine. I enjoy reading people that are engaging in the chat, and it's cool to see people actually in here talking. So, Lou, how did you find us here? You're new. I don't think I've seen you, whether you subbed to the channel and it didn't give me the notification or whatnot. How did you find us? Just curious. And same with you, Melissa. How did you find us? I'm definitely curious, because, like I said, usually on our live streams, we don't really have too much engagement going on, so seeing people engage is pretty cool to see. Just wondering, how you found us, whether you found us on a video or, yeah, facts. It won't looks good up PUBG gameplay. I wasn't too big into PUBG. I played it a couple of times on my PC because my friends at the time played it, but I just wasn't super into it. The whole Battle Royale thing just didn't grab my attention. My son was a pro player for Misfits, and watching his games made me puke. Pro player for what? For Misfits. Is Misfits a game, or was that the team name? Christy told me about it. She's my cousin. Okay, who's Chris? I went to live gaming on YouTube, and you were the first one that popped up. Oh wow, that's pretty cool. Interesting that we were the first one that popped up. That's something different. But on to the Mr. Beast controversy here, now that I've just gotten derailed here. So Misfits is a pro team. Okay. So Mr. Beast has been getting quite the controversial stuff happening to him here. A bunch of his edgy jokes that he made have come to light. He made a comment about Bad Bobby. He was on a podcast, and he made a sexual remark about her when she was 14 at the time. So that's come to light. He also is being alleged fake giveaways and his videos being staged, which, if you look at the giveaways and you look at the videos that he's done, like, if you're looking at him as an adult, like, yeah, they look definitely a little questionable, especially with the amounts of money he's giving away. Like, I'm sure that he's legitimately given away a bunch of things, a bunch of money, stuff like that, but I think he skews it quite a bit in terms of, for content. So he's also... My issue with Mr. Beast is he's aiming too much at children, and he encourages them to gamble a lot. Like, a lot of it's gambling. Another controversy he's been in the news for is with the giveaways where he's selling merch on, like, a live stream, and he'll be, the next 3 people to order shirts get $1,000 thrown in their order, and then people rush to buy the shirts so that they get $1,000, and then he doesn't put the $1,000 in, which you're selling a ton of merch because you're saying, like, you're going to give away your car, and you're going to give away $1 million, and you're going to give away thousands of dollars to these people that buy your merch, and it's insane. And his videos and stuff, I think his audience is probably a majority of children, and that's a problem. So here comes Andy. Andy's coming back. So with talking about the Mr. Beast controversy, you can't talk about that without talking about the Ava Chris Tyson. And I don't want to elaborate super hard on the Ava Chris Tyson controversy. So the TLDR of the Ava Chris Tyson stuff is that she talked inappropriately to minors. There's a guy known by the name of Lava that she was allegedly grooming, which is very, very wrong. And on public forums, dude, you look like the singer from Dayseeker. Which one looks like the vocalist of Dayseeker? Me or him? And I also don't. Maybe I do know who Dayseeker is. So they all, like, on Twitter, Ava Tyson said that she sent him fire nudes and stuff. Don't share them. There was allegedly a private Discord server with 10 people that were mostly minors around the ages of 14. And she was also talking to a artist, You in the Hat. I will have to look up this vocalist of Dayseeker. I am not brothers with the guy from Dayseeker. So Ava was also talking to a artist called Shadman. I don't know if YouTube is allowing that now, because I've seen a couple people talking about it that have used it in, like, a code. The artist is disgusting at the highest degree. They are people... The artist was basically drawing real kids and putting them in very disgusting situations. So that's all I'll say about that. With the Ava Chris Tyson thing, a lot of it is proven to, fact. It's absolutely disgusting stuff. If you want to find out more about that whole thing, I suggest going to listen to many, many of the deep dive people on YouTube that have talked about it. Some Ordinary Gamer, Asmongold has covered it, a bunch of the Stashing Glasses. A lot of people have done really pretty big deep dives and cover a lot of, like, the evidence and stuff about it. So another part of that is Mr. Beast and Ava Chris Tyson were best friends, and they were collaborating together on yes, 100% Melissa needs to be behind bars, for sure. They were partners in creating content, and, Ava Chris Tyson actually used to be a male, and they made a transition to a female. Again, I don't have any problem with that. He was of age to make the decision. That's what he made the decision to do. By all means, that's fine. And Mr. Beast backed him up when he did it. So, you know, that was a thing that happened. And now that all of this controversy has come out about, you know, Ava Chris Tyson talking to minors and doing all of these really just degenerate, disgusting things, Mr. Beast has cut ties with her, and, you know, for the better, clearly. But I think the damage has kind of been done. And a lot of people are wondering if Mr. Beast knew about Ava's secrets, because there's been some video evidence of them living together. And in one of the videos on the wall, there is the artist's art hanging on the wall, and they're both in the room. So, and I believe I read they were friends for 16, I think. So, you know, if your friend is starting to, you know, show signs of this stuff, you gotta have some inkling about their secrets or what they may be into. So it wouldn't surprise me if it came out that he knew about it. Yeah, it was at one time. Like I said, they
Don't
did
pick up the phone.
make a transition. Yeah, ignore that
Don't
phone
pick
call.
up the phone.
Ignore it. So I gotta think that he probably had some sort of knowledge about this. It's still a developing story. All of these things that we say could be irrelevant tomorrow. It's going to, I guarantee it's going to be a big thing for quite a while. The more things that come out. So, I mean, it makes you think and jump down. Like, the more that something like this, especially with somebody as big as Mr. Beast, you have to think about, you know, a lot of his stuff is aimed at kids. It's encouraging kids to gamble. It's all just really shady. I mean, to me, at least. I mean, all of these allegations and stuff that have come out so far, I mean, other than the Ava Chris Tyson stuff, like, that is, like, pretty hard factual stuff with receipts. And it's definitely sketchy. And, I mean, if it just so happened that, you know, everybody was in on it, that's... Whew.
So I just want to touch on this real quick. All of these things that we're talking about, or that we've been talking about, you know, for weeks now, for like all of this, all of it goes back to that whole idea where adult concepts or adult activities or things that you really have to have a fully developed mind to understand and really make good decisions about are permeating childhood.
Yeah.
And, you know, since the dawn of time, I mean, how many times have we all gone out before we were, you know, 18 and been like, oh, let's play poker. You know, is poker gambling? You know, it doesn't have to be gambling.
Yeah,
but
yeah. It can just be like a friendly game between friends.
Quite frequently, it's wind up, you know, it's like, everybody grab your quarters. You know, everybody's out
grab
there gambling.
grab a couple of bucks and we'll play for, you know, you buy in for $5 and you can rebuy for $5 and you can just keep rolling with very minimal money coming out of your pocket.
So that, you know, even like way back, like very, very far back, that was a thing.
I mean, I'm sure it still is.
But with all of this becoming so prevalent and so forthcoming, I have to wonder if the internet is essentially, or has become essentially, a magnifying glass or an accelerant or like an oxidizer for fire. The fire that burned before, where it was like, you know, kids are curious. They see what their parents are doing. They think it looks fun. They want to try it. They want to do that. As you grow up, you start to get, you know, these aspirations and just different things. And if the internet isn't careful about being, an environment for mainly adults, and it allows access to kids, and kids become, more ingrained in that, more informed about that, I have to wonder if all of this is just simply from the connectivity and just by sheer chance of access. Not just in the sense of these are obviously people who are misguided. That's not up for argument.
Yeah.
But the access of those people who are misguided to getting to these people, that connection wouldn't be there.
If you think about when we were, 12, 13, 14, like those preteen and early teen years.
I don't want to.
Think about when we would go into AOL or Yahoo chat rooms.
Dude, yeah.
It's the same kind of thing, except the people on the other end didn't have the tools that they do now. If that makes sense.
No, absolutely. There's been so many advances in psychology and technology where when you combine the two, grooming across the distance, AOL chat rooms didn't support video.
I was just about to say that is like back when we were kids and, preteens, early teens, and we were doing, AOL chat rooms or Yahoo chat rooms or whatever you were doing to go in and just explore and, figure stuff out and talk to these people that were definitely 40-something-year-old people, like, preying on young kids. We didn't have, if you had a webcam, you were balling out of control. But a lot of these chat rooms and stuff didn't support webcams and stuff. But now, you literally, most kids have a high-quality camera and the ability to use it to chat like that in an instant.
So let me ask you this.
This younger generation doesn't know about dial-up.
Dial-up internet, man. Dial-up was a safety net.
the call waiting when you were on the internet, I had it. My mom got it for I forget what exactly it was called, but when we were on the internet, there was a little, it looked like a beeper almost, and if somebody would call, it would say their caller ID, and if it was an important call, my mom would be like, get off the internet, so I'd have to get off the internet, and she could answer the call from the computer. I don't know what it was called.
Ring Central.
Maybe that's what it was called.
That's what it was called. It was Ring Central. It had an answering machine, too. But so we know, we've looked at, five different scenarios in the past few weeks?
Well, we've looked at the Dr. Disrespect stuff. We're looking at the Mr. Beast's Ava Chris Tyson controversy. Mr. Beast is kind of still up in the air. There hasn't been hard evidence that he is involved in anything degenerate with minors. But there's allegations that he was in a Discord with Chris Tyson. Takes an hour to load one boob.
Oh, we're canceled already.
There's a allegation that he was in a Discord talking to people, but that hasn't been proven that it was 100% him. So in the grand scheme of things of people preying on younger people, we have the Dr. Disrespect stuff, and some questionable stuff with Stico, and the Ava Chris Tyson stuff. It's 3 people, really.
Okay, so 3, that's fine. I guarantee you that's not all.
I just saw today there's a YouTuber named Kai. His cameraman, they just found out, was talking to a minor.
Okay,
so.
There you go. So that's my point. We see these. This is not all of them. There are ones that we don't know.
So many that nobody knows.
So let's say, for argument's sake, there are 1,000 content creators. We know there's many, many more than that.
Well, yeah, they're probably in the millions at this point. Anybody can be a Look at us. We're in a basement. We're just 2 dweebs just
watch it
on the internet. We are content creators.
I'm making a point here.
I'm just letting you know.
A fraction of those, represent people that deviant, don't do the right thing.
Yeah.
even if you were to solution this problem, how do we fix it? Do we sit there and we say, okay, we can fix this by getting the 50 bad people, the 50 bad eggs, kicking them off the service, bringing them to justice, whatnot? Or do we do a better job of stopping the interaction between minors and people on the other side of the internet? But I guess what I'm getting at is, YouTube as a service or as a provider of a service stands to be in a very unique position and very capable of doing things toward this initiative rather than going after 50 different people and continuously looking for what's going wrong. It's one of these things where it's like, do you stop the criminal from getting in your yard, or do you let the criminal in your yard and then call the police on them?
So, it paused live and now I'm with you all, so my chat maybe didn't make sense there. No, it made sense there, but it is still his parents. So, trying to stop a predator that wants to get access to your children it's very difficult, but it's very easy, but it's also very difficult because if you're talking about social media and the internet as a whole and all the ways that they can access them, whether it's for God, what brain work. For example, just to set a scenario, say it's a content creator of a high scale. And normally these content creators of these high scales have, a Discord server where people can go and talk about, the content of the creator and this and that and communicate as a community. I think that's beneficial as a content creator to have a place where all of your fans and stuff can communicate and talk to each other and build this community. I think that is very important. However, things can go wrong. Things can go south. It's very easy. It's all about just the moderation of it. If people see things that are wrong, they should report it. If they sense that somebody has bad intentions, they should report it. But again, it's a very hard thing for people to do because a lot of people don't like confrontation. They don't want to be the one that snitches. They don't want to be the one that, reports it or, ruins it or brings it down or whatever. But it is the right thing to do. And, as, if you're on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, you can easily talk to your favorite creators or your favorite athletes or musicians or comedians. It's so easy, and whether they choose to respond or not is up to them and how they like to engage with their audience. But if your kid is the one that is engaging with these people, as a parent, you should catch on to it. And it's all about what Melissa just said. It's educating your kids on safety and to be present in what they are doing. You cannot miss when, I guess that's a little extreme there. I don't want to say that. It's hard to miss when something is wrong with your child.
Well, a lot to unload here. I need to get closer to the mic, I think.
Well, you're getting off camera now that you changed your angle.
Yeah, well, that's not a bad thing. Need to be off camera. Yes, it's a parent's responsibility ultimately. To the degree that it's a parent's responsibility, whose responsibility is it to make the parent aware that it's even a threat? Because there are so many parents out there who simply don't know.
That is true. There are tons of parents that aren't in the space where they're just the video games. It's just the guy that plays video games. They're no harm. They're just playing video games.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I'm back to YouTube as a service provider. If you don't want this to literally like tarnish what you're putting out there. If you truly care, it's not going to cost YouTube a damn cent to run an ad.
I just want to point out, Melissa just said the thing that every parent wants to hear from their kid, is that her daughter said that as an adult that she made her decisions knowing that she would have to tell her mom about it, and it made her make healthy decisions. That is knowing that you parented to the absolute best of your ability and the absolute dream scenario right there. That is everybody's dream there, is to get their kid to a point where when they're making a decision or doing something that they think about the repercussions and they choose the right path versus the wrong path. That is your job, and you did it correctly. However, when kids are in these impressionable ages, that's not always the case. And some of them are very naive to the intentions of what these people are capable of. And, especially as a female, as a young female, you are just in the trenches at all times.
I mean,
it's terrifying to think about, because there's going to come a time where that is my reality, is I have to literally be the person behind her, or being in war terms, like being the person in front of her, being the one in the crosshairs of my job is to take the bullet for the person behind me. And as a parent, and as she's trying to navigate these things and being influenced and, seeing things on the internet and, who knows what it's going to be by the time she gets there, like what I'm going to have to worry about. And it's like, that scares the shit out of me.
Well, so it is terrifying. And there are certain instances where, do you have to be the person in the crosshairs? Yeah, kind of. I think there are a lot of times when you need to be the medic behind her, too.
You have to kind of play both roles there. You have to be the one that's willing to jump in front of the bullet, but you also have to be the one to heal her if she gets shot.
Well, and it's deciding, what that bullet looks like. If that's like a be-all, end-all, you're done, absolutely, you got to take that. But if it's something where, it's going to hurt, and it's probably going to, it's not going to be easy, but is she going to learn more, and is it going to ground more and make a better impact on her as a person by taking it herself and being nursed through it?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like that whole, learning by don't make the same mistakes I made. One thing, but who the hell learns that way? A lot of people, they should learn that way. It's like the most optimal way. It's somebody saying, "Hey, look, I fucked up."
Yeah.
But we all know that we learned way more when we fucked up.
100%. That first time where you drank too much alcohol and you threw up, or you got way too hammered, and you were just like, I don't ever want to feel like this again. Like, or I don't ever want. Well, I say that now, and I'm just like, nah. When you smoked weed with your friends and you got too high and you were just like, I'm fine, everything's fine. Like, or I don't want to feel this way anymore. Like, you learned and you were like, okay, don't do that again. But it wasn't as harming or as damning as some of these things can be, or as dangerous as some of the. Well, I guess nowadays, you could smoke weed with your friends and just die.
That happens way too often.
I guess that is a thing that can happen nowadays.
They're lacing weed with fentanyl, and people are just keeling over. And kids don't know how to handle it because they're like, oh, they just smoke weed. I don't know what to do. You fucking call 911,
dude. There was just a case in town where this mother had a kid sneak into her house. He was 18, I think, and her daughter was 13. I guess they were dating, and she gave him methadone. He didn't know. She gave him methadone, and he ended up dying. And now she's facing a bunch of charges and stuff. But like, that's also like, that's another thing that terrifies me. Is like, not only do you have to navigate all of these people in the world, whether it's somebody they watch on the internet or people that they talk to on the internet that they met playing games or doing whatever, or now you have to worry about their friends' parents.
You've always had to worry about their friends' parents, but like, dude, we've all heard Stacy's mom. Like, now we go back 20 years later and realize how cringe that is. It's like, why did she come out with just a towel on? Yeah. Let me think back for a second.
Stacy's mom was a predator.
Thinking back to when I'm 17, if my mom's or my friend's mom came out with just a towel on, I would be like, why?
I have a question for you. Do we know Christy in the chat? Is that somebody that we know?
We know Christy, yeah. Well, I know her.
Okay. I thought so, but I wasn't sure.
In a very curious manner for the topic, too. So.
Huh?
I don't want to say anything about that.
Okay.
Because I don't know if she wants me to share it.
That's fine. Understandable. Don't just be putting people on blast. Yeah. That.
No, it involves minors.
Okay. That's now it's questionable here. Like,
Christy, are you listening?
Yeah, Christy, can you confirm that Andy can
interject
to say what he needs to say, or saying she is my cousin? I didn't even know cousin-in-law was a thing.
Everything in law is a thing.
I'm learning new things.
Can I divulge how we know each other?
In terms of what he's talking about with minor, yeah.
I coach her son.
Oh.
So.
Much better now that it's in context.
Yes,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. In bowling.
I love that.
In bowling?
Well, yeah. I wasn't going to go there, but I don't need to give them more ammunition.
Dude. We're nerds, all right?
Bat bowling. Gamer.
Hey.
Simple-minded.
We're nerds.
Philosophical, baby.
Okay, continue with what you were saying now.
What was I saying?
Bowling coach.
Yeah, that's how I know.
Oh, I thought there was a story that was coming.
No, we were talking about Stacy's mom. How that's cringe now that we like look back on and it's like, whoa.
Dude, there's a lot of we are just going off on a tangent. This is like the end of the podcast, so we're just kind of just going to talk about whatever we covered what we wanted to talk about. So we're just going to free ball it now.
Whoa. Shit. Dude, all the shit we just literally talked about and you freaking dropped that bomb. Damn it. I hope there are no children here. Oh, I'm dead. Where are we playing golf on Sunday?
I thought we said Honey Run.
Did you make tea time?
Not yet. Well,
that
tells right around the area we're at. Whoops.
They don't already know?
No, I never disclosed our location.
Why?
Because that's not something you want to do on the internet.
We're in Pennsylvania.
Yes, I think we've said that, yes.
Bumfuck, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, bumfuck,
Dude, we talked about Club 19.
Like it's a famous place.
All it takes is a Google search.
Yeah, but that's a broad area of where we're at. That's not an exact area of where we're at.
I'm just going to give them the address.
It's a hard no.
We're at 2735 Harrington Street.
Is that a famous address? That's just a thing off the cuff.
I want to. It's not down the street.
I do want to tell a story about what happened to me last night. So, I don't know if that's a good idea. Oh no, I'm saying.
I don't know if that's a good idea.
Why? Why is it not a good idea?
Because it's an active situation.
It's not an active situation. So anyway.
Are you really that butthurt?
No, I'm not butthurt at all. I just think the situation is the absolute craziest thing. So I sold a couch on Facebook Marketplace, and the lady, when she messaged me, asked me for the dimensions. I told her that I did not have the dimensions because I had torn it apart and put it in my garage so that we could rearrange our living room with the couch from down here going up there.
Wait a minute, you didn't give her the dimensions?
She asked for it, but we had already torn it down. So I told her that I did not have the dimensions. She said, doesn't matter.
Yes, ma'am.
I want it anyway.
But I do.
So, do you play League of Legends?
I used to.
Really?
Yeah.
What the Why am I
I always went top.
We need to have a discussion.
Fin top.
So, I told her that. She said that she would take it anyway. She was persistent. She really wanted it. So I
attack.
I told her there's somebody that's interested. We will if it falls through, I'll let you know. So
I could use some support.
She said, she was like, I can pick it up now, blah, 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 like trying to be persistent and let me sell to her. So I was like, just let it play out. If it falls through, I'll let you know. So the next day, I told her.
I can get the couch. Come on, I can come get the couch.
I told her.
Let me have the couch.
Hey, she messaged me and said, hey.
You can let me pick up the couch.
Would you shut up? She said, hey, just checking in. And I said, hey, they're supposed to pick it up this evening. I will let you know if they don't show up. Messaged the lady that was originally supposed to buy it, and she said nothing. So she never responded. 2.5 hours go by. I'm like, okay, you know what? It's yours if you want it. You come pick it up. She sends her husband to come pick it up. He takes it, and they gives me the money. He goes on their way. So, she then messaged me like 10, 15 minutes later and says, hey, it doesn't fit. And I say, oh, wow, like, that sucks. Like, by how much? And...
Well, wonderful handling.
And, well, it wasn't exact words. So she says, like, yeah, it sucks, blah, blah, can we bring it back? I was like, well, not particularly. I'd rather not. Like, it's not my fault that you didn't measure the couch when you were here before you took it home. Like, I apologize. I'm not trying to be rude, but, that's on you. So she then messaged me back.
Here's the problem.
She messaged me back and she says, he's on his way. And I say, what? And that's when I texted you, like, they're bringing it back apparently. So he pulls in my driveway and knocks on my front door. So I go out and I'm like, he goes, doesn't fit. I'm like, yeah, I heard it didn't fit. And he goes, so you want to just put it back in your garage? And I'm like, no. And he goes, well, what am I going to do with it? I'm like, post it on a marketplace and sell it. I said, you can easily sell it for your money back. And he goes, oh, so you're one of those guys. I'm like, look, if you would have came to pick it up, had your measurements, measured it, and then said it didn't fit and you didn't want to buy it then, that's another thing. That's not what happened. You literally bought it without measuring it, put it in your truck, took it home, and then you loaded it back in and wanted to give it back to me. No, it is now your property, not mine. So he was like, so great, so now I just burned $100. I was like, I guess so. And then I went inside and just shut the door, locked it. He got in his truck and left. And I blocked her on Facebook, and that was the end of that. But it's crazy to me that somebody on Facebook Marketplace was so persistent and wanted to be the one to buy it. And, sight unseen, not knowing the measurements, and then wanted to return it like I'm a store.
Well, and, so the biggest thing is, wanting to return it, that's one thing. It's up to you, really, whether you say you can bring it back or not.
To show up.
That's the wrong part.
When I said, preferably not.
After you hear no, you don't just go back. This is not Odd Lots or Big Lots. It's not.
You can't just go in and be like, I want to speak to the manager.
Yeah, you want speaking to the manager at a house does not work.
Yeah, it was very lackluster ending. I will give you that.
I literally would have said to him, I've been like, you can put it in the yard if you want, but I'm not giving you your money back.
He told me, he's like, I have nowhere to store it. And I'm like, just put it in your house and you can sell it in a day. I had it up not even 24 hours, and I had 35 people that wanted it.
Well, and that's the thing.
It was $100, a sectional for $100.
One, and I'm only saying this because I'm your friend, I am fully honest, I think you should have measured the individual pieces.
I 100% when I made the post, I should have measured. However, when I was getting ready to take it apart, there was a guy that wanted to buy it without even wanting the measurements. So that's why I was just like, oh, cool, we'll just tear it and put it in the garage.
No, that's fine.
And then he backed out, and then it's already in
And what I'm saying is, even when it was in your garage, you could have thrown, a tape measure on the individual pieces and been like, oh, it's this small.
Well, when we had it stacked in the garage, it was all you couldn't just measure it in the garage.
It was a pain in the ass. It would have been a pain in the ass. I'll give you that. If you wanted to do it, you could have done it.
Do you know how many people asked me for the dimensions?
One. I'm just saying.
2 or 3.
I'm just saying it could have been done. That's the only thing I would have done differently if I were you. They still had every opportunity to do exactly that.
What Melissa said. They bought it without measurements, so that's on
I'm getting there.
That's on the consumer, not me.
I'm
imagine me being the Dave Chappelle. Because fuck them, that's why.
They had every opportunity to measure it while they were here before they bought it.
I like Melissa.
Just
Melissa
like you. I didn't say he was in the wrong. I never said you were wrong. I said the only thing I would have done differently.
If Melissa can come to every live stream, that would be great.
I yield.
Yeah, fuck your couch. Buy a new one, you rich motherfucker.
I yield.
Yeah, it's not the first time you yield.
I'm about to eat your ass across the basement, so shut the fuck up.
If you can do that, then you need to go to a strongman competition immediately.
Stand up.
Stand up. Stand up. When I move, you move.
Again, I don't think you were wrong. That's just something I would have done differently. Because at that point, I can definitely be like, the fuck you talking about? You ain't bringing this shit back. I fucking measured it. You know it don't fit. Fuck you. And your couch. And your dog. And everything in your house. Fuck it all.
Okay, so we'll spend a little bit of time just talking to the chat that we have in here, aka Melissa. So I remember you said you bought a PS5. Did you buy the PS5 for yourself, or did you buy it for a collective in the household?
That's a personal question.
What?
That's a personal question.
It's not a personal question.
Melissa, you're over 18, correct?
She has kids that has kids, so I would fucking hope so.
I make no assumptions anymore.
Nah, they bought it without the measurements. It's on the... Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. But did you buy the PS5 for you, or did you buy the PS5 as a collective?
She bought it without measurements.
For the household. She bought it without measurements. She bought it for my son when we went to visit. Now I bought it when Christy can, and now the babies will play when they come. Oh, that heart is in the way. Can I move that so that it's not? Yeah. Yeah. Kind of. Sorry, my text is slow. I think there's a delay when you're live streaming. I think it's the delay from us asking the question to the point that you get to answer.
That's him.
No, I bought when Christy came, and now the baby's... Okay, so...
It's a mental block.
So who plays the PS5 the most?
People.
It's because Melissa plays League. I will play, so I'm trying to find games. Okay. Watch Andy's reaction when I recommend a game for you to play. Play the game Celeste.
Fuck this shit. Have a good night, y'all.
I have a League friend coming to stay with me for a couple of weeks, and we also will play it. Yeah. Get PlayStation Plus. I think you could probably get it at either tier. And there's a game called Celeste. It's so fantastic and good and addicting for all ages involved. So it's like a platformer slash puzzle game. So you are like a little character, and you have to navigate getting from one point to another. And there's spikes and stuff that you can't hit. There's little diamonds you can get. You get like one boost jump, so you can climb on the side. There's actually a story to the game, and it actually touches on like mental health and stuff, which it's really, really, really done well. It actually, like, it didn't make me cry, but it definitely made me like feel certain ways, because it navigates yes, like CELEST. Actually, here, I'll show you the game. I have it, a physical copy of it. Yeah, right there, Celeste. Yeah, Andy just literally got up and left. It's so good. No, and I think he's got to go and get his child to bed, because his kid comes over to hang out with my daughter while we go down and podcast. So this is usually his time to get her home and get her in bed. Yeah, definitely, I highly recommend that game. No, that's Andy. Celeste is so good. It's highly addictive to play. I can't say enough good things about it. But there's so many games on PlayStation to play that you can get cheap. You can get on the service for things. A lot of easy play stuff too. Whether it's like 32-bit graphics or like crazy, beautiful, stunning graphics. What kind of games are you drawn to? Because I could give you a couple more recommendations before we sign off for the night. Other than League, of course. Yeah, it's to have something like that. It is overwhelming when you can get a Nintendo to play, and Dr. Mario is a safe bet. So, do you like multiplayer games, like stuff like that, like things that you can like dig yourself into and like really get into, and a lot going on? Or do you like, a variety of games, like puzzle games? Well, then I think you'll probably like Celeste, because it fuses the simplicity of a platformer, makes it a little more hard, but not overly hard, and it's a puzzle game to where like I found myself literally stopping to think. Andy's in the chat now. Yes, it's nice meeting you, Christy. Thank you for coming in the chat and starting this crazy long chat that I never thought we would have going on our tiny little YouTube channel. It takes two because you both have PCs. I just have my PC and then I have my PS5 and stuff. I don't know if there might be a way that we could probably play it. I figured that you were leaving, Andy. If you haven't played Horizon Zero Dawn, play Horizon Zero Dawn. That is a fantastic game. That is just... It's open world adventure. The storyline to it is really, really good. It's about like a futuristic world, but it's also like a prehistoric world. These robots are like dinosaurs, and they're being manipulated by basically like a corrupt AI almost, and they take over the machines to turn them like evil, I guess is what you would call it. But that's a really solid game. I highly recommend playing that one. If you like survival horror, you can't go wrong with Resident Evil. Resident Evil 2 got a remake for the PS4 that is literally perfect. And then Resident Evil 4 also got a remake for PS4, which is also literally perfect. So I highly recommend checking those out as well. The Tony Hawk games, Tony Hawk 1 and 2 got remakes for the PS4, which is playable on PS5. If you want to revisit a classic, you can't go wrong there. If you like weird, quirky stuff, you can't do the horror ones. Well, I guess there are like... I mean, I wouldn't say that they're scary. I wouldn't say that they're like scary, but they have like a few like little jump scares, I guess. So I guess if you're not into horror, then yeah, I guess maybe avoid those. Donut County is actually surprisingly fun to play. It's kind of a mindless game. You're like in this town and you're this little tiny hole in the ground, and it like as you consume like items in the world like bricks or chairs or end tables, it gets bigger and you can consume like more things in the world, and it's like a weird like indie type of game. It's really mindless and kind of stupid, but it's kind of charming in a way. You know, something that isn't in the mainstream, but still is like a little fun thing to check out. I don't know if it's free on PlayStation, but it's very cheap if it isn't. Spider-Man is fantastic. I played the absolute shit out of the first Spider-Man. I haven't played the second one. It's on my list of things to play. I've played a few Ratchet and Clanks, not too many. Sonic is kind of meh. I haven't been huge into Sonic though. Farming Simulator, yeah, get Farming Simulator. Astro's Playroom. There's one that the kids would absolutely love. It's this little robot character, and you play like these kind of like open world levels. They're generated after like parts of a PlayStation, and it goes through the history of PlayStation. So you'll run into like the little robots that are throughout the world, and they are reenacting like little scenes from different PlayStation games. Like they'll be dressed up like Kratos from God of War. There'll be a Dante from Devil May Cry. There'll be one that's dressed up as Nathan Drake. There's one that's dressed up like Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn. Astro's Playroom. Like ASTROS Playroom. It's free for anybody who has a PlayStation 5. It's so fun. It's just a easy game for a kid to pick up and play. It's like cutesy with all the little robots running around, and it teaches, it's just little like thing, like you collect as you go through the levels, you collect things from PlayStation history, like old PlayStation controllers, memory cards, the systems, and then the end boss is the tech demo for the PlayStation 1. So it's a lot of history from PlayStation. So if you have a experience with the PlayStation and know like things about PS1, PS2, PS3, PS4, and you're watching them play it, and you've played games from those time periods, you can pick out these little Easter eggs that people will play, and it's really fun. I thoroughly enjoyed just playing through that game 100%. Another one that they would probably enjoy is Stray. That's free on PlayStation Plus, I think. It's literally a game where you play as a cat. You play as an orange cat, and you navigate through this like open world, and it's like a world run by robots, and you can literally like pluck the ground, scratch scratch on a post. You can run around and meow. The game had no business being as good as it was, but it was actually just fantastic. That was a fun, like, little easy game that you could pick up and play. There's a ton of like stuff like that on the PlayStation, like little charming like little games like that are free to play and stuff like that. It might be a movie about dogs. That gave me some starting points. Thank you. Yes, there's some games for you. I mean, you can also just go classic Spyro and Crash Bandicoot, but Spider-Man also is a fantastic game. You can't go wrong with that. There's a ton of games for PS4, PS5 that you can get, even if you just have like the lowest tier of PlayStation Plus and stuff. I think we'll probably try and do Steam. Steam sales are where it's at. Oh my god, I bought so many games on Steam just for the summer sales and spring sales and winter sales and sales and the sales. And half of them I haven't even played because I have zero time. It was Farrell and Jamie Foxx. They were voices of the dogs. Do I know Stray as the movie? Stray movie. Oh, now I know what it is. Yep, I know what it is. But I think that pretty much concludes the podcast for tonight. Thank you, Melissa, Christy, and everybody for coming in when you decide to come to League. I might give League a try. Maybe I'll hop into that and see what I think, and maybe I'll do it as a topic on the podcast of what I think of League. But thank you guys for coming in. Thanks for talking and really helping carry some of these, controversial topics. I was kind of nervous to talk about them, and I kind of went back and forth whether or not I should talk about them. But I think as a parent, I think it was kind of my obligation to talk about some of these things that is in the community that I am a part of, and listen to these creators and watch these creators and stuff like that. So thank you for helping me carry along those conversations and making them a little bit easier. I really appreciate it, and I know Andy appreciates it as well. So have a good night, guys, and catch us next time. Thank you.